Thank you, Ewan, for that. Headmaster Dr. McEwen, Deputy Headmaster Mr. Davies, invited guests, staff and students. Today I would like to discuss a topic in which every individual in this room is familiar with. That topic is fear. And you may be asking yourself, in what world does fear relate to our Year 12 connections of... what world does fear relate to our Year 12 theme of connections? But in due time, I hope it will be clear to you. Everyone in this room, in some way, shape or form, has experienced or is currently experiencing a fear. And that fear, whatever it may be, has held you back from doing something. A fear of failure is vastly common in today's society and prevents people from achieving their goals on a regular basis. The fear of being alone, also another common one, even though we're surrounded by the best community in Tasmania. Fears relating to specific situations such as flying, diving, or even driving. I could go on and on about the possible fears you or the person sitting next to you may have, but I won't. Instead, I'm going to tell you why you being afraid is preventing you from being the best person you can be and building connections you might never have expected. Now, what if I told you were only born with two innate fears? The fear of falling and the fear of loud sounds. That means whatever other fear you may have, you have created in your own head. You are literally restricting yourself from doing things in life because of a figment of your own imagination. Take the Hutchins School as an example. We as a school have more on offer than any other in the state. You can play any sport, study any class at this school. And yet I can guarantee that many students sitting in this room have not pushed themselves out of their comfort zone in search of a new opportunity and making these new connections. I'm also confident that the thing that is holding them back is fear. If I were to illustrate what this would look like, it's essentially a mental barrier you have put in front of yourself, an unnecessary obstacle to stop you from going any further in life. I'm not saying that I myself am fearless. The thought of public speaking is quite frightening to me, and yet I stand here before you. What I'm trying to say to you is that you have a choice to break that mental barrier and make those new connections. Something that has helped me break that mental barrier is rowing. As many of you may know, I was fortunate enough to be captain of boats this year. But coming to school, I did not see myself being a rower. I was a short, chubby kid from Taroona with very little connections at the school. In fact, as Ewan said, one of the only boys I knew and came to the school with is now your school captain. Coming into rowing, I was terrified, but I remained persistent and that fear slowly dissipated. Something I can say about rowing is that it is easily the most mentally challenging sport you can do. I can say that without a single doubt in my mind. The boundaries you push yourself to, I've never experienced before. Running up Mount Wellington in a snowstorm, doing a 2K test in stinking hot weather, the literal vomit, sweat and tears you experience as an open rower is an emotional roller coaster that requires you to be in some cases more mentally tough than physically. But all these challenges, emotions and fears you face, you go through as a team. You break down those barriers of fear together, and in my eyes that has helped me build some of the best connections I have so far as a young man. Being a boy or a man, one of our biggest fears is to be seen as weak. And this stops boys just like us from expressing these emotions due to this stigma that boys who express these emotions are weak. This fear is possibly the most common through all age groups of manhood. It is why tragically that suicide is the biggest killer for men aged 14 to 44. Now just think about that. Out of everything in Australia, every animal, every disease that could kill you, the most likely thing to kill you in that 30-year period is your own mind. But what if that stigma was broken? What if that fear of expressing your emotions as a young man and being seen as weak didn't exist? You could save your own or a friend's life by breaking that barrier of fear and making that connection. Earlier this year, someone I had known for 13 to 14 years sadly took his own life. His name was Scott, and I loved him like family. He was like a father to me. And people who knew Scott knew he seemed to be fearless, brave and strong. Scott unfortunately lost connections with a lot of his peers and was afraid to express his feelings with new people. I believe if Scott could have broken that mental barrier of fear and talked to somebody, he might be sitting here today. Now the reason I bring this up, going through this stage and coming away from it, I took a life lesson. I told myself that if I or a mate was ever going through a similar stage, I would start the conversation with them and break that stigma. Because no more lives need to be lost in this tragic way. And that conversation does not need to start from the person suffering. If you acknowledge someone is down, you should feel the responsibility to act on it. So boys, I leave you with this. Not I nor anyone else expects you to be fearless, but you have the ability to be brave. Have the courage and motivation to help yourself as a man by challenging those fears. In the words of Will Smith, fear is not real. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present or may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. The final line, I believe, best expresses what I'm attempting to portray. You have a choice to seize opportunities, build those connections, and make that choice to be the best man you can be. It's in your hands now. Thank you.